Hello, everybody, and welcome to this virtual session. I'm Dr. Klaus Mergener. I'm very pleased to be moderating this session and very glad you can join us. The title of the session is The Art of Innovation, Startup Spirit. And today we're going to be talking to Professor Mathieu Pioche from Lyon, who you'll meet in person in just a moment. And I'm very excited to be talking to him. He's the recipient of ESGE 2022 Best New Device Award. And you'll hear a lot about how that came about. But first, we will go to a pre-recorded video where Professor Pioche will introduce his invention.
Hello everybody, I'm Mathieu Pioche, a physician of the Hôpital Édouard Herriot in Lyon in France, working for the Hospice Civil de Lyon. We thank ESGE to offer us the opportunity to present our innovation with this device connecting pedals that we called IPEFIX. This device comes from an unmet need in endoscopy because we use a lot of pedals at the same time to do different actions, to cut, to coagulate, to flush, and to inject through the knife during, for example, ESD procedure. And during the standard ESD, all the pedals are not fixed with different weight. For example, the flush pedals and the knife pedals are very low weight and can move during the procedures. This movement leads to change of position that imply to look down to check the position to be sure of the pedal you will push. Because of this, we created a device with 3D printing in order to connect all the pedals and to make them fixed in a standard position that we can always use to train people in order to know where are the pedals without looking down and therefore to be able to keep the eye on the screen of the endoscopy pictures in order to look down and to lose the position. We imagined the device to be able to do a round shape movement fixed on the heel like this in order to catch all the pedals with the same movement without moving the foot. And we did a small inclination of the pedals to improve the ergonomy of the flat pedals we use for flushing and for injecting with a knife in order to make it easier to push without moving the foot, but only rotating on the heel. This is an example of the current procedure during an ESD in the colon. Even if it's not so frequent, sometimes it's difficult to be sure of the position and therefore you have to look down to see exactly the position. And when you use a lot during hours, you can move the pedal progressively and make it go under the bed. Especially when it bleeds, it's sometimes difficult to be sure of the position of the flushing, injection and coagulation, and you have to repeat the look down to be sure of the position once again. And every time you move a little the lightweight pedals. With the IPEFIX connection system, the position of the pedals is fixed, always in the same, and relatively close to the central pedal of cutting and coagulation in order to catch it without changing a lot the position of your foot, so you are stable and in a fixed position. We asked to the 3D printing office of our hospital to provide this device. We did a randomized study with 30 procedures with 2 physicians, and you can see that the number of mistakes is 7 per hour against 0.5, the look down 8 per hour instead of 1.4, replacement by the nurse 2.9 instead of 0.2. We did an article in endoscopy this year to show this device. And after, we decided to spread it to two of our friends in Limoges, Jérémy Jacques, and in Rennes, with the team of Timothée Vallernorst, in order to test it. And we had to adjust the needs depending on the brands they use for example, the monopolar pedal, or the water jet function, or the Olympus electrosurgical unit. We thank a lot ESGE for giving us this prize of the Innovation of the Year in the category Best New Device, and we hope you will like it and you will use it to improve your use during ESD, but also to improve the training of your young guys or your trainees to make them able to fix their eyes on the screen instead of looking down their foot. Thank you very much again.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mathieu, for this excellent pre-recorded description of your device. Before we talk a little bit about how this device came about, how you had the idea, I'm assuming, since it has to do with ESD, that that's one of your areas of clinical focus. Is that correct? Tell us a little bit about your background and your career, please.
So yeah, effectively, the needs of having the pedals connected comes from the fact that we are focused about ESD. First, I'm from the unit of Thierry Ponchon, who was my research mentor and who asked me for my research work to become a professor in France, to work for a small company, a startup who developed a few years ago an ESD knife, which is now sold by Boston in the US and in Japan, not in Europe for the moment, unfortunately, for regulatory reasons, but you can use it through the world except in Europe. So I had this first experience of being a medical engineer for a small company to develop and to try to show the benefits of this device. And during this research fellowship, I spent 1 year in Japan in the National Cancer Center Hospital, where Yutaka Saito, my Japanese mentor, and Naoi Sayagi received me to learn ESD and helped me to get the license, the Japanese license, to work there and to treat patients, and in order to come back with colorectal ESD. Since this, we have developed the technique in France with a French group in around 6 centers who are really focused on diagnostic and treatment of superficial neoplasia of the digestive tract, and mostly ESD, because we are convinced of the benefit of R0 resection for the patient and for the histological assessment. So yes, we were focused on ESD. We have a lot of trainees, and we are responsible of the training for ESD in France for the French Society. And this multiple mistakes using the pedals, especially for the guys who are in training, was really a limitation. And we had to give them something to have always the same position of the pedals, to keep the eyes on the screen and not on their foot.
Right, and that makes sense now that you had not just the clinical training, but also some background in industry, in entrepreneurship. So that probably takes a whole different mindset. It's amazing to me, we have these situations in the endoscopy room where in hindsight, many of us would say, yeah, this really is something that constantly is a problem for us, that gives us headaches, and no one has really tackled a good solution. Sometimes, the problem is obvious, but we still don't develop a solution for it. I'm curious how the idea came about. Were you standing there one day and just said to yourself, oh, let me try something? And then what was the first step you did after you had the idea?
First, the idea came from a paper where we wrote with my colleague Jérôme Rivory all the unmet need we can find in ESD, like independent traction with our colleagues of Limoges, or this problem of pedals which were moving. And I simply asked to my father to do something to connect the pedals together. I did some drawings, and my father gave me a first prototype. He did really simply at home. From this, one of our nurses had the idea to send our prototype and the drawings to the 3D printing office of the institution, and from this they sent the same thing but more easy to clean, more ergonomic. After this, we discussed with our friends from Limoges and Rennes, who said, yes, but for me, I need the pedal on the left and not on the right. So we decided to do a puzzle to allow everybody to change the position and to connect the pedal on the right, on the left, first the one you want. And so it's a puzzle with several pieces, and you can do whatever you want. But for me, in our institution, we decided to have all the same position in order to make the trainees trained in the same position, so we can take the hand, give them the hands easily without changing the position every time.
Yeah, and I love it that when you developed this, you almost immediately then also decided to study it, rather than just building something, start using it, and never really evaluate whether or not it works or compare it to the status quo. So that's a nice approach. I'm curious, why your dad? Is he a medical engineer, or he's just good with his hands, or why did you give those drawings to your dad? How did that happen?
Because he does a lot of homeworks, and now he had a coffee, so a restaurant in France. So nothing with medicine.
Very good. Well, what were some of the main hurdles, would you say? I mean, for those of us who are out there practicing, and there's an idea that comes to your head, and you decide to pursue it. What do I need to know about how easy or difficult it is to do this kind of work?
The chance we had is the 3D printing office, I should say, because it makes the idea, it changed the idea in something ergonomic and relatively nice to present, because the first prototype was not so beautiful. But I think we need, with the 3D printing that a lot of institutions have now, it is more easy than before to come from an idea to a prototype, even if this prototype will have a lot of evolutions and can be produced differently in the future. It is a good way to have something in your hands, test it, and have a quick development.
Yeah. I bet that's very true. And we only have about a minute left, Mathieu, but I'm curious, is this something you are planning to pursue personally, potentially, as a career, or sort of a career on the side in addition to your clinical work? Are you working on your next idea,
No.
on your next prototype yet, or what are you planning to do?
No, for this, we have many other ideas, not for the pedals, but so we have other ideas. We will probably develop more, but for this, as I am a university doctor, the intellectual property of this device is for my institution, not for me. So in fact, they will probably give the license to an industrial. Many discussions are ongoing. technology. And I hope this industrial will come with this device quickly to help the people who want to use it and who think that it could be an help for them.
Outstanding. Yeah, the intellectual property will be maybe to your facility, but the benefit will be to all of us for this. You know, you might say somewhat simple idea, but still very effective as you demonstrated in your video. So I want to thank you again for your time, and to our audience, thank you for watching this. This was Professor Mathieu Pioche. We talked about his invention that led to the Best New Device award from ESGE. So thank you, Mathieu, and thanks everyone for watching us. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.